What is going on, everybody? We are back with the Cowboys Collective for episode 18. I ain't got to ask. I remember. Episode 18 of the Dallas Cowboys Collective featuring Law Nation Sports, John Machota, Attack on Cowboys, and we're missing Foster King today, but Foster King usually here, man. We ain't kick him off the show. And we're going to go ahead and get this thing going, man, because our fellas, they are in the trenches right now. They live at 5. John Machota had a chance to attend the media portion of Micah Parsons' event earlier, got shut down. Going to give John a chance to talk about that. Law is currently, he's currently right now in the battle lines right now, y'all. So we're going to give these guys a chance to kind of talk about what they have going on, what they've been seeing. So, John, we'll go ahead and get this started with you, my brother. What's going on with the Micah Parsons event?
Yeah, so they had a media portion earlier today where it was just kind of a press conference to talk about the event. And a lot of times at those events, they don't want you to ask anything football related. But I'm also a professional journalist. So what happened is that, we asked, there was only 3 or 4 of us asking questions. So we asked a bunch of questions about the event and what he's, his involvement in that and what he's doing. And after about 5 or 6 minutes, it was ending. And I was just throwing a question of just if he's disappointed that he hasn't gotten a new contract from the Cowboys. And he goes, no. And then somebody from the event jumped in and said that he's not going to take any questions about anything to do with the event. So he didn't seem like he's disappointed. But I also don't think that wouldn't be like Micah there to say that he was. I think he's, he knows that things will take care of themselves when they do. And when they do, he's going to be a very wealthy person. Not that he isn't already, but I tried to get something. I mean, hey, I came in asking something I didn't come in asking something about, hey, so what's going on Twitter with Marcus Lawrence? I could have just asked at the press conference. I could have been like, hey, do you think DeMarcus Lawrence will be here? I didn't do that.
Right.
I was kept. Right. The other thing is too with like Micah is that Micah's like Dak where, they're just, I don't know. I mean, like they could easily, like of all the players I've covered, they would be at the top of the list of if someone was like, who could you see doing what we're doing right now? And like they can talk, like it don't matter, football, whatever, real world events, life, whatever. So Micah was ready to answer it. He does this podcast all the time. Where he answers all kinds of questions. He would have answered it fine. But I get it. These people that run these events a lot of times they're not around the guys all the time, and they don't know how our relationships are with the players and stuff. So it's fine. But yeah, no, I mean, when I was there earlier, like we were talking about just right before the show started, I saw Chauncey Golston there, Cavante Turpin, Matt Eberflus, Ken Dorsey. I'm trying to think who else was from the Cowboys. Sam Williams.
Schottenheimer was there too.
Okay. Yeah. So, they had a really good turnout. And then there's a lot of like NFL stars. So, it's very obvious, like his popularity and what he's thought about amongst the league's star players. It's a good turnout.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right, Law. You got anything for us?
Well, I did my job, man. I tried myself to recruit. Got a chance to talk to David Mulageta. That's how you say his last name.
That's why you was being so easy on him last show, huh? Yeah, it's like you about to get up next to him. I feel you.
Yeah, you got. Wait a minute. Pause if necessary, but I did get a chance to talk to Matt Eberflus, and he got some plans for the defensive line, and he got some plans for the linebacker room. And I told him, I said, you know what? We need to stop all of the bullshit about culture within the confines of Dallas. And I would love for this team once a week or once a month, do something like this, whereas they have the camaraderie. And he agreed 1,000,000%. So they're going to have something like for him and Schottenheimer. I got a chance to talk to both of them. And they planning on having a friends and family day on Saturday. So it's going to be good that they're going to show the unity. And it shows also that all of those players that's pulled up on Micah Parsons, that they believe in Micah Parsons and they support him. And got a chance to talk to Tyreek Hill. Got a chance to talk to Von Miller. Wink, wink, So it was a great time to get out there and talk to these individuals about a good cause that they have, as well as about the future of this team heading into the 2025 season.
Hey, Law, I think we need to get you an official spot on the staff at this point, don't it?
Hey, at this point, yeah.
Hey, we need to put Law on the payroll, Jerry.
Yeah, I said I got one more play left in me, man. And he laughed and he said, "Where you want to be at?" And I said, "Man, anywhere in the DB room." And he said, "Okay, I'll make it happen for you." I probably can do equivalent of what Andrew Booth did last season.
Nah, we're going 1-16. If Law out there, we're going 1-16.
Right.
Okay, speaking of one more play. Speaking of one more play, that's a perfect way to segue into John. Are the Cowboys done? They've gotten quad. Do you get the sense that they are done with free agency? Do you get the sense that they are still looking around or just trying to be more calculated in these last couple of moves they're going to make in free agency?
No, I mean, I still think they're looking around, but it won't be, I don't see them signing any of the top names that are left. I still think there's a chance of there could be a trade for someone. I really do think number 2 receiver, that could be a spot, because if it isn't, then like we talked about in the last show, then you got to almost target that at 12. I don't think they're going to do anything more at running back in free agency, because I think that the plan now is just, and probably been the plan all offseason, is that we're going to get something good out of the draft, and so I don't see a big change there. So what does that leave you? Defensive tackle, offensive line, a corner. I just think that these are things that they'll probably look for in the draft. So I'm not counting out another potential trade for a veteran player, but in terms of like signing anybody else, I'm kind of wondering if the players that are still available, like some of the Sante Samuels and Calais Campbells and them, I wonder if some of those guys might even be waiting to be almost kind of even in that Zeke category of where they wait until the draft is over and go to a team that maybe didn't draft a spot and their value is more then than maybe it is right now. Maybe a lot of the guys that aren't signed yet probably don't have the market that they were hoping for. And so, yeah, another, kind of middle of the pack type deal wouldn't surprise me. But this free agency has kind of gone kind of the way that I thought. I just felt like there might be another more significant trade still a possibility.
I think there's going to be one. We can get into that in a second. I think there's going to be one, and I'm trying to push this train down the tracks, y'all. I'm trying to push this train down the tracks because I kind of teased it a little bit, but now I've put the full idea together. Now I don't know if y'all saw it, but I put the full idea together now with this Courtland Sutton thing.
Okay,
and I'm serious because the Cowboys can take out 2 birds with 1 stone, and I want to talk about this briefly here, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. The Cowboys, Denver Broncos trading 12-20. Sean Payton connection there. A little elbow rubbing action going on. Courtland Sutton's due for a contract. He's 29. He fits more so in the timeline of the Cowboys than he does the Denver Broncos with a fresh young quarterback. Broncos can trade up, get a receiver that Sean Payton is probably wetting his pants over, and Matthew Golden if he's still there at 12. Cowboys get Sutton, number 20, maybe a 4th rounder in there, and they have to send back a 5th or a 6th or something to kind of balance it out. What do y'all think about that? They get to that number 20 spot and pick Omarion Hampton with that pick. So now you have Courtland Sutton as your wide receiver 2, Omarion Hampton with that 20th overall pick. Get an extra 4th out of it, and the Broncos get what they want in a receiver that lines up with the timeline of their quarterback.
I don't hate it. I mean, I get where you're coming from. There is a lot of it does make sense. It just, the only thing would be if the Cowboys really like a receiver where they're like, no, we're going to take our guy at 12. That would be the only way where I'd say if they're really in love with somebody that they just think, why not get that guy for the 5 years, the 4 years, the 5th year option. That's the only reason why I wouldn't. And then the only other part that would kind of make you nervous is that if that is your plan, that still is 8 spots that you got to hold your breath that Hampton slides to you, because it just seems like his stock keeps rising. And I also think in that scenario, most teams would know that that's probably what you're targeting at 20. And so you got to worry about other teams trying to jump up in front of you. So as long as you have other plans too, then you're good. As long as you have other possibilities of like, hey, well, if Hampton isn't there at 20, what's our next possible thing? But I don't hate that idea. It makes a lot of sense, especially, it all depends on what they think of Sutton too. That's the big part of it. If they really like Sutton a lot, they think he can be that type of missing piece to be their number 2 receiver, then I could see them have a lot of interest. My big thing is I just wonder what they think about the receivers that are there at 12, because they might be in love with somebody. If they're in love with McMillan and he's there at 12, then I could see them being like, hey, we're just going to take our guy, but I don't hate it.
And that comes down to the draft crush thing, because I just feel like there are going to be teams that I don't see how some of these guys fall down the draft. Like Ted, I don't see how he makes out the top 10. I don't see how he makes it past Carolina and then makes it past the Saints and then makes it past maybe a team like the 49ers that they just traded Deebo Samuel and now they have a gap right there and they need somebody on the outside. I don't see how certain guys are going to make it past that point where the Cowboys are picking. So I think in that point, at that moment, and Law, we kind of talking about the draft crushes because we were kind of talking about the idea I just floated there, right? I think at that moment, that's why I'm looking at that like, okay, I feel like Tet's probably going to be gone. Genty's probably going to be gone. 12, I feel like it's still, especially with the teams that's picking after you and what their needs are. I feel like 12 is still going to be a little too high to take a Hampton. That feels like a slight reach to me at 12 still. I really like him, but 12 and taking the second best running back in the draft just feels a little off, right? So that's why I'm thinking you kind of inch back a little bit, maybe get a little bit more draft capital. Maybe it's Sutton in the third or Sutton in the fourth, and you're able to really take care of the receiver, running back, and now you really can draft best player available the rest of the draft because your offense is done. On day one, your offense is done as far as skill positions go.
So you were saying that basically before my phone said it was too hot, so iPhone care about my safety, I guess. But
I'm about to explode in there, Law. You got an IED in that mug.
Yes, indeed. But what I was getting at is that so when you look at that, you saying make a trade for Cortland Sutton, right?
Right.
And then you draft Omarion in this first round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who you getting in the second?
You can get with anybody you want to at that point. You got your receiver and your running back. You got your receiver too, and you're starting running back now. So now in the second, you can go corner. You can go, you can go safety, Andrew Makuba. Okay. You can go defensive tackle, Alfred Collins. You can go anything you want in the second round now if you do something like that. So I just think that, honestly, the logistics of it works for both teams. If you look at the timelines of it, what kind of cost, he's not gonna get more than the T. Higgins got. At most, his contract is going to be between that $22, $25 million per year type of range for 3 seasons. That pretty much still stays in line with the Cowboys being able to kind of do a full reset at the end of Dak's contract. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I think that's an interesting, just because Stephen Jones has talked about it. March 5th, I looked it up. March 5th was the last time he talked about trading and making calls to team and staying active and constantly trying to make trades to, if it makes sense, draft wise, draft capital wise, and money wise, if it makes sense. So that was just something that I was like, okay, maybe they are more so invested in the trade market than the free agents right now, because some of the activity with the free agency doesn't make sense. Like Stefan Diggs, and we can get into that conversation. Stefan Diggs, to me, their lack of activity with recruiting him says a lot, in my opinion. It says a lot about a Trevon Diggs, how they may see Trevon Diggs, because you would think that if they really bought into a Trevon, they would like quickly want to have the inside track on the Stefan Diggs. What do y'all like? Is there something to that? Like, why isn't Stefan being talked about in the Cowboys organization?
And
they were clearly looking for a veteran receiver.
I think that, ACLs, man, it's a 2-year process. I don't think it's a year process. And I think so I'd rather get a healthy player
I need the sonic bubbles for a long.
Rehabilitation.
It's a good effort. I mean,
yeah.
It's my system all messed up.
I was just going to go back to what you said earlier, AOC, though.
Right.
In that scenario, it was cutting out big time.
Yeah.
When you said about the idea of, if you said the idea about McMillan and Genty both being gone, then that really makes the trade back thing interesting for sure. I just feel like if one of those guys is there, I think it'll be hard for them to pass on him, because you're also getting him on a rookie contract, and I think either of those guys step in right away and can be an instant impact player. It's not maybe by year 2 or 3. No, you'd expect those guys to contribute right away. And so that would be the part where it would be tough to move back. But if both of those guys are wiped out and they really don't they don't love anybody that's left there, then that makes a ton of sense to want to move back there. And with Diggs, to me, it's not just a Cowboys thing. It's, well, why hasn't anybody else signed him? You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody needs good receivers. Everybody would love to have 2-3 good receivers on their team. So they're also going to be a part of him where he's looking for the right situation and things like that. But yeah, I feel like fully healthy 2-3 years ago, it just would have seemed like a no-brainer. You know, when Trayvon started kind of taking off, man, why wouldn't you want to have Stefan on the team too? But I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that momentum is there, and I just feel like that they're going to try and go young and cheaper at wide receiver. And the draft could be one way to do that, you know, unless you get a guy that's, like I said, in the final year of a deal somewhere else, and then maybe you work out a deal with them. Then that's always a possible road too.
Yeah, that's why I kind of went with the Cortland thing. I think this is his last season on that deal. So he would be negotiating a new contract. And like you said, if Tet or Genty is there, I'm not thinking about anything like that. I'm taking one of those guys. Just 100% taking one of those guys, have them for 5 years. I think that's your best course of action. But if you get into a situation,
what were you saying about Diggs before it cut out?
Yeah, what were you saying?
That, he's a little long in the tooth, and plus he's coming off of an ACL, and that normally takes 2 seasons. I get it. People do come back after one, but I would go with the mindset of just going ahead and getting someone that's healthy versus getting someone that you got to rehabilitate. I'm not trying to be the rehabilitation boys, the rehab boys. You know, I get it. He may come out and ball, but I just need fresh legs out there or a healthy body outside of someone coming off of an injury.
Yeah. Speaking of Michael Gallup and the Commanders, you know, that's pretty interesting right there. Go ahead, Law.
I was going to say this with Michael Gallup and as well as with Debo. They playing with fire because what they banking on is Debo going to lose that 20 pounds, right? 15 to 20 pounds. And they're banking on the fact that if Michael Gallup, he's a good person. He said that he took a year off or what have you to deal with his mental mindset. But are you really going to get him out there and get the full capacity of Michael Gallup? Or there could be a camp body situation. I don't know if it looks good on paper when you look at it from afar. Terry McLaurin, Debo, and Michael Gallup. But when you look back at it and you really look at it, it could be just as much to do about nothing, and they better go out there and draft a wide receiver. But I hope that they don't. They feel satisfied with what they got. It's a plus for us.
That's a recipe for disaster. They feel satisfied with that. Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, when Gallup was healthy, I thought he was a good player. I mean, that's why he's another guy when we talked about yesterday about players that they have given new contracts to and it not working out for them. And he is the right type of guy behind the scenes. Certainly, I think he can fit into any locker room, no problem at all. But what's his health at? You know, I did think there was going to be a time when him and Dak were, you know, pretty good, you know, quarterback receiver combo for a while, but then the injury happened and it just didn't get. I mean, they paid him to be their number 2 receiver. I mean, you just look at the money that he was given. It just never happened, and he didn't stay healthy. And so it surprised me a little bit when he retired. But I mean, I'm happy for him that he's coming back. I just don't. It's hard to say what he's going to be, you know, taking time off, where the knee is, things like that. But it's a new team. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a fresh start for him, but I can't see them looking at this as any more than, hey, let's sign this guy. Probably not spending very much money. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, we're not really that invested on it, you know?
Right. And kind of like how we were going back to what we were talking to just now. Law, I do want to get your thoughts on, I know, obviously, John, I think you're a Tech guy, right? If all things are there, if Genty's there and Tech's there, you're taking Genty, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Law, I want to get into what you think is your draft crush, pause, if necessary, for this NFL draft in the 2025 season, man. BetUS TV is helping us provide this excellent content for y'all, and they want to ask you that question, Law Nation Sports. Who are your 2025 draft crushes? Give me like 2 or 3 guys that you wouldn't mind seeing in that Cowboys blue and silver.
Yeah, with the silver and blue on the starting side of the helmet, give me Ashton Genty. I think he'll bring plenty of crushes and love to the Cowboys, especially if he can get a chance to do even half of what he did in college, right? The other guy will be T-Mac. I think that he will be a guy that can pull the ball out of the sky. He can play through the echoes of the whistle, or as being that type of person in the red zone. So those are my 2 crushes. And for a sneak peek down the stretch, let me see who really. Scatterboo. Come on, let's get Cam.
Oh, here we go. You just want to say his Law. You just want to say that man's name, bro. You can't convince me that you didn't just want to say his name, bro.
No, but we need a big boy. I do like Alfred Collins. I like him and Tyleek Williams, the big boys down inside. I think that will help this team out tremendously.
Right.
My number one draft crush, though, just to be clear, it's without question, is Travis Hunter. If it went where Abdul Carter went 1, and then the 2 quarterbacks go 2 and 3, and you could get a pick with New England at 4 to go up and get Travis Hunter, I would be very, very intrigued by that. If you have to give up next year's 1, and then you go up to 4, and you give up and you get Travis Hunter, I would be very intrigued by that. I'm not saying that they would do that, but that would be that's my number one draft crush.
That's swinging for the fences right there. It's like, hey, I'm pretty much getting 2 number 1 picks in 1 anyway, so. Yeah. Ooh, that's swinging for the fences. John want the content, though. I already know what you think about John.
I already know.
For sure. Very selfish.
All right, let's think about it. All right, so we got a little bit of time left in the free agency period, right? Like the meat of the free agency, because technically we're in the second week right now, the middle of the second week. So we got a little bit of time left in the free agency period. Law Nation Sports, what do you want to see the Dallas Cowboys do between now and the time that free agency or the NFL draft really starts to ramp up towards the end of April?
All right, make one more push at wide receiver, whether it's draft or whether it's free agency or trade. Make a real move at a DB, whether it's Jair Alexander or unknown guy. Well, a known guy, not unknown. We do that, But I want us to make a real push at a DB or wide receiver at this point before we go into the draft. It was offensive line, but Tevin Jenkins, he signed with the Browns today.
I seen that.
And
I was like,
Will
this Law's guy.
Hernandez, if anybody know Will Hernandez, should be Adam Clayton. So maybe that's a post-draft pickup.
That's what I'm starting to feel too a little bit, Law. Like John made a very good point, and we've been talking about that a little bit. And I think that they've plugged enough holes depth-wise this first week of free agency that they can afford to be a little bit selective with the final pieces they're going to add to this, because the guys that they add now are going to be contributors. They're going to be expected to be guys that are going to be playing the lion's share of the snaps at that position that they're brought in, right? So I can understand them being more selective and just kind of using the rest of these good tier 2, tier 3 type free agents as kind of like a fail safe if you don't get what you want in the draft. So I think that with that being said, we might need to move. What was the bet? What was the egg bet based off of? What did I say it was?
If they sign
we might need to make it after the draft.
Before the draft.
We might need to do after the draft, man. We might need to come on now, Law, help a player out. We might need to go about after the draft because because now y'all making too much sense with it. Oh man, eggs is expensive, bro. Eggs is expensive.
I would like to see them get somebody like Asante Samuel, where they're like, the player doesn't have the market they were hoping for.
Right.
And so they're like, I'm just going to sign a 1-year deal somewhere because I want to like approve it type thing so I can get back to free agency next year. And who did that recently? I think Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis did that with the Lions, and then he obviously made money off of that this offseason with New England. There's a couple of DBs that have done that before. I would like that. So it's like, it kind of is one of those things where I think he's still a good player. And if it doesn't work out, you're only invested for a year. But if it is really good, then maybe he's somebody during the season that you extend and you work out a deal with. I wonder how much they like him, just because they could have drafted him when they needed a DB bad, and they took Kelvin Joseph over him because obviously Kelvin Joseph had the measurables that they look for, the bigger corner. Samuel's smaller, But with Jordan Lewis gone, that's where I kind of wonder, well, maybe Samuel works back in, because Jordan Lewis he didn't have the measurables that are ideal. And you could make the argument he was as consistent as really any defender that they've had for, 3 or 4 years. He didn't have the big flash plays, but he was like real solid across the board. Right. And so if they get something like that, I would be interested in that. That's the thing with these free agents that are left right now. It's not just a Cowboys thing. There's a reason that they're still out there. So it's either they don't have the interest they thought, or they don't have the dollar amount that they thought that they would be getting. And so you might be able to find a guy at I don't know, whatever position that's like, well, no, I'll just do a 1-year deal with you because I want to get back to free agency next year.
Yeah, that's Asante Samuel would be a good deal. I remember the Honey Badger did it before. I think he did it with the Texans, and then after that, he kind of used that to go with the Chiefs. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, man. At this point, the Cowboys, I don't know, man. I think that if they just leave everything as is, it's disappointing for sure. It is disappointing because you didn't really get that big name that you can sink your teeth into. So that's why I'm like really looking at this like, bro, they have to be planning to do something else with the money that they have remaining and just kind of the pieces that they're moving around right now, because you still didn't need to restructure Dak with the moves that you've made so far. So
Right.
unless you're looking at, and that's kind of what I want. Have they at all thought about? Do you think they get the feeling that they've been thinking about Tyler Smith or Deron Bland or anything yet, John?
No, that could be possible for sure. Tyler Smith would probably make the most sense because that's generally offensive linemen that they've been able to get something done with where it hasn't really dragged out. I mean, other than the Zach Martin holdout during training camp a couple of years ago, I mean, usually with their offensive linemen, it seems like they usually get them taken care of. So yeah, Tyler Smith could certainly be in there for sure. But because you said this, it made me want to ask you this. Okay, so because you brought up how you'd be a little bit disappointed. So I posted this poll the other day on Twitter, and it got 7,000 responses. And it was, what grade would you give the Dallas Cowboys for their roster moves during the first week of free agency? And so it was A, B, C, or D. You only get 4 options because, frankly, I don't even think that anybody could say it's an E. It's not an E. So 3% said A, 32% said B, 45% said C, and then 20% said D. Where are you right now?
Wow.
And what would have to happen to get one of you guys to be at an A? What would they have to do?
Wow. You want to go first, Law, or
Go ahead. You go.
Man.
Or is it possible to get to an A?
Yeah, it's very possible. Right now, with what they've already done, it's very possible to get to an A. I think they are literally maybe 1 or 2 players that even the casual fan may recognize just from name value. They're 1 or 2 of those type of players away to getting an A for me, just personally. I think that they've addressed, like I said, the depth issues. Like, think about the spot that they're in with the linebacking core. Last night's show, we were talking about how they were kind of having a log jam. We were like, who's going to end up being on the field ultimately? Because you legitimately have 4 guys when healthy. It's like they could probably start for anyone if they pan out to be who you think they are, right? With Marist and Demo and Kenneth. And then now we take a look at kind of what they're doing with the defensive end room. If you look at the defensive end depth chart, you're like, oh, they're about 5, 6 deep right now. And that's Tyrus Wheat being the very last guy off the bench and a Peyton Turner being one of the very last guys off of the bench. But you got Micah, Sam, Marshawn, and Dante is your 4 guys coming off the edge as a platoon. That's without adding maybe if we can get a Von Miller in here to kind of be a veteran presence, a veteran that the locker room can respect, and he embraces the roles that he needs to play for this locker room, right? If we can get one of those guys type of in here, I think that they may add one in the draft. So the defensive end room is good. Really, you're looking at the defensive tackles, and you're looking at a receiver. That's really the 2 positions you're like, oh, we really, really need it. Our safeties, can they be upgraded? Yes. Can they probably be better than they were last season? Yes. Right. So I think that a C+, B- type of range is fair. So the percentages that you just gave make sense. 70% of the audience being in a B or C makes a lot of sense to me right now.
Yeah. I like the idea of bringing in a Von Miller. That's something that I kind of pitch to Matt Eberflus, hopefully, if it comes through.
So if it happens, we're going to give Law the credit, y'all, regardless if it was already in the works. If it happens, we are giving Law Nation Sports credit. We got to give credit where it's due, because my man is out here with boots on the ground, literally talking to people like, hey, you meet here. Hey, come here. Y'all meet each other real. So, go ahead, Law.
And it is crazy how many of these guys, like, especially with me not being from Dallas originally, like, It is crazy how many of these, like, star players, like, work out and are in the DFW area in the off season. I mean, obviously Von Miller's from the area originally, but I'm just saying, like, I was at one of those O-line mastermind things last year, and all the linemen are working inside, and I look outside, and on the outside turf is Jamar Chase. I'm just like, what's going on here right now? Like, there's so much talent that hangs out here in the offseason that, I don't know, like, it makes me wonder. I'm like, if there wasn't a salary cap, like, how much could they be capitalizing on this?
Yeah, I think that's a good conversation to kind of introduce with that too. Law, go ahead, finish what you're gonna say, but I think that's a good conversation as far as what's attracting. Do we have the type of players, and is Dak and CD calling guys? Is Micah Parsons, his presence and what he means to just the future of athletes for the NFL, right? Just what he's doing, and regardless of how anybody feels about it, he is making the uncomfortable the norm, right?
Right.
So what he's doing, are these the type of players that y'all think are going to make guys want to come ultimately play for the Dallas Cowboys with them? Because I know Dante Fowler said Micah Parsons, he loves playing with Micah. So that was one of the reasons why he wanted to come back.
Their energy is contagious, and it is not just. I'm saying the camaraderie, like with Sam Williams being here, going into a contract year, so he's going to want to show up and show out. It's so contagious, and all we need is just that one game to wipe this nasty taste out of our mouths from last season. And I think that by them just being able to just be there for Micah Parsons, even at this event, shows me that this guy got some abilities to recruit guys himself. So we just need for him to get paid before somebody else can come in here, because it makes sense. Pay Micah Parsons, get him done, so that we can go ahead and look at how much money we got left to spend, so we can make sure that we bring in the right pieces, and it will be an A+ off season if we just do those small things right there.
You guys have any interest in Brandon Cooks or Stefan Gilmore?
Stefan Gilmore, yes. I have a lot of interest in bringing back a Gilly. I think Gilly played well for the Vikings last season, quiet as it's kept. I mean, he allowed, I think, like a sub, like 80 or sub. It was like somewhere in the mid-80s quarterback rating when thrown at him. Got a couple interceptions. I mean, he still played pretty well. And here, I think that he won't be expected to play the role that he played last time, which he essentially had to trail the other team's best receiver. I don't think he's going to be doing that at this time. With Elam and you got Bland, and you just kind of got some flexibility to how you can use some of these guys. So Gilly, yes. Cooks, if we don't bring anybody else in, I don't mind him coming back and seeing what it looks like in Shoddy's offense. I don't mind it, because even Cooks would say himself, he doesn't feel like McCarthy used him properly. So Cooks with a fair shot, yes, but that's kind of like a break glass in case of emergency for me personally.
Yeah. Draft first, and then, hey, Cooks, you bring him up, bring him in. That's what I would do, because let's be real, we're not really fond of going into the 2025 season with Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert. No offense to those guys,
and there's no disrespect to these guys, man. Yeah, there's no disrespect. We respect the players, bro. We understand what y'all do. We understand how hard y'all work. But we also work hard too, man. And we watch a lot of football too. And we know what a good player looks like compared to a guy that's still trying to figure it out. And no one's not saying that y'all aren't good, but y'all are still trying to figure it out. And Tolbert, I don't know if he can be the type of receiver that Shoddy's offense is going to demand. Like the offense that he's going to be trying to implement this season and what he's going to try to build towards. I don't know if Jalen Tolbert is a physical enough receiver to play that role that he needs to play. And I don't know if you want CeeDee Lamb trying to play that role, because you don't want him getting put in harm's way. So it's like they have to do something there. Maybe that's what Jonathan Mingo's for.
I bring up Cooks and Gilmore just because I know that it would only be the tape would be the only thing that would be for them to decide off of, because the behind the scenes and what they bring locker room wise, like that they both passed big time. Like they were both very, very well liked behind the scenes. Just real leader type, do it the right way. Veteran types that aren't like hesitant to share what they know with the younger guys. You know how sometimes when guys get, older in the league, they're like, I'm not going to tell you all my tricks of the trade so you can take my job. Like they were always like great with all that stuff. And so that's why if it got to a point where they needed one of those positions, it would not surprise me at all if they brought one of them guys back, because of how much that they were liked behind the scenes.
You just brought something up in law. You probably know what I'm talking about. You remember this, bro? Because you just brought something up. I want to ask about, because I feel like you may have an interesting antecedent about something like this, John. Law, do you remember when they said that Roy Williams talked about somebody in the Cowboys locker room was feeding him the wrong plays and stuff in the playbook, and it was a veteran on the team that was leading him astray a little bit. And that's why he looked so bad. That's part of the reason why he was looking so bad in that offense they brought. That defense, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
John, have you ever heard of anything like that just with this team, as far as like maybe a veteran not being the best kind of usher of the new generation and kind of rebelling against that a little bit?
Not necessarily. Not since I've covered the team. I think that there's some stuff that gets overblown. I think with like older players, like helping younger players and stuff like that, where I think a lot of older players are kind of like, I've done this. I'm here, but like I'm not really going out of my way. I'm trying to stay in this league too, you know. So I think that I feel like there's been stuff like that, but I don't remember at the Roy Williams time. To be honest with you, when I think of Roy Williams, I think of, well, heck, it's probably one of. I mean, not a great trade for the Cowboys, and then he was the one that wanted Dez, I'm pretty sure, to carry the shoulder pads, and Dez wanted no part of that.
No, I'm talking the safety. The safety. Yeah, the safety.
Oh, someone gave him the wrong playbook?
Yeah.
Yeah, they gave him the wrong playbook.
And it's already been discussed now. We can talk about it on here. It's already been discussed.
I've never heard that. That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So and he ended up deleting his IG and all kind of stuff over that. But anyways, yeah, that was an interesting.
Yeah, that's dirty work, man. I don't.
I was about to see if you had heard anything like that. That was just funny to me. That was funny to me. But man, we're at an interesting point in the offseason. I think we're at that point where things are about to slow down a little bit. We're kind of just waiting on things to heat up for the draft. We're hearing a lot of lies. We're hearing a lot of people talking about players falling. Law, do you really believe the smoke about players falling? About guys like Tet falling down draft boards to where now people are making mocks to where he's available at pick 20 still? Like, do you really believe the smoke on that type of thing, or is this just like a lot of angling?
Well, these teams are billionaires with a B, right? And if they really want somebody, it's a little smear campaign, you know. Tell them, hey, this dude is really slow. He runs a 4.840. You know what I'm saying? It's a little of that going on, and it happens every year, right? And you just got to stick to your board. Then you're gonna have to put the blinders on and go get the best player available, and don't listen to none of this stuff because you got years of tape of college from them guys. You got combine tape. You got all of your research and your homework. This is now the time not to cheat. This is the time to make sure that you believe in what you believe in on your draft board, and you just stay focused and you draft that. But don't pay attention to none of these guys that try to do that sneak stuff, you know.
I love the size and the ability to high point the ball that Ted has. I mean, I think that's something that this team's been missing really since Dez. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was to fall a little bit because to be honest, like I don't know that he's a better prospect right now than Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson. And none of those guys went in the top. Well, Jeudy went 15. CD went 17. Justin Jefferson went 22, and that included Jalen Reagor being drafted at 21 in front of him. Like, crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if the reason I say this is because McMillan is a good prospect, but he's not Jamar Chase. He's not Kelvin Johnson. He's not Larry Fitzgerald. He's not one of these guys that's going to go top 5. And so you just know that one of these quarterbacks is going to get pushed in there that you're just like, man, I never thought that guy would go top 15 or something. You know, maybe it's Jackson Dart, something like that. There's usually like a player or two that get in there that push somebody back. And so I can't see him falling to 20. But if you tell me McMillan falls like maybe 15, yeah, I could possibly see that. But I also think for him to fall, I think another receiver has to jump him that people aren't expecting, you know, like a Golden or something like that, where you're like, oh, damn, but maybe that player fits that team better. I don't watch all these guys as closely as some others do, but I think McMillan is the perfect fit for what the Cowboys need. Now, they could obviously use more speed too. Golden can fly. So whatever they're looking for. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he fell a little bit.
That's a dangerous game you're playing. When you're drafting guys just based off of 40 times, very dangerous game that you're playing right there. Because I feel like Matthew Golden, yes, he's a good receiver, but he started off as like more of a second round type of prospect for a reason. And it's like then the underwear Olympics came around, and now all of a sudden we're looking at him as a better overall receiver than Tet McMillan, to where he could possibly be the first receiver taken off the board. I just don't think that Al Davis is gone. Yeah, exactly. Like some of these guys are just like falling off the face of the earth. Other guys that are testing crazy or jumping up. But it's like, bro, we looked at all these prospects as who they were for a reason. That's one of the things I don't want the Cowboys to do. I don't want the Cowboys to get too tricky because I feel like sometimes they feel like they're the smartest man in the room and they'll draft these guys from these smaller schools that they think that's going to turn into these huge stars of Colorado States and Marsh and just different small schools. And it's like, bro, go get blue chippers. Please go get guys that have played high-level competition and have been successful. And that is the way that you can be successful. The Eagles drafted the full Georgia team. The full Georgia Bulldogs defense, they drafted them. So go draft blue chip guys. We want to follow the Eagles blueprint. I think drafting blue chippers and doing something like being okay with paying a second receiver $20 to $25 million per season is something that you have to do. So I don't know. Do you feel like the Cowboys can get a little bit? They can overthink the draft a little bit. Do y'all feel that way as far as like just going to some of these smaller schools for no reason when there's other bigger talent available from bigger schools?
Maybe a little bit. I think that maybe as they draft farther down, I just feel like with them at 12, they're going to have a good idea of what they want. Like I feel that they're pretty confident today of what they're going to take at 12. I don't think that there's a lot of now, don't get me wrong, you can go to a pro day or you can have a 30 visit or a Dallas day and you're just like, man, I did not like that at all. The way that guy carried himself or the way he treated some people or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that could possibly hurt you, but I bet you they got a good idea right now that it's going to be one of these three guys, you know? Law, you still in on Luther Burden? Or I remember you were the first person I heard mention him. To me, at least.
I'm still liking Luther Burden. I just don't like him over Tet, or I think Matthew Golden is right there with him now, as far as the more and more tape and information come out. But I just like the mentality of Luther. I liked his yards after catch. I like him. I think that the Cowboys can still utilize and use him. But I think that we got so many needs on a running back first, and then we got this need on DBs that a Luther Burden is not that much of a need for us at this point.
As it currently stands, how do y'all look at the Cowboys? I want to know how y'all are gauging the Cowboys right now. Like, how do y'all look at the playoff team, top 10 pick team next season? Like, as they currently stand before they fill any of the rest of these holes, and then kind of talk about what holes exactly do you feel like they need to fill? Because I want to know where you guys are kind of looking at them.
I don't think they're a playoff team right now. I think they have to make some moves, and the reason I say that is because, I mean, you're getting at least two teams out of the NFC North. That thing's going to be just as tough as it was, if not tougher. Philadelphia is going to be right back in there. The Rams are going to be tough again. There's just a lot of teams that I just feel like they need to really step up. Now, you go up and trade up for Travis Hunter, or you get Ashley Genty, or you do something like this that really takes you to the next level, then yeah, I just keep going back to, like, I didn't feel like they were necessarily going to be the team that they were in 2016 until they got Zeke and it kind of took off. You know, even with Romo going down, it was like, it didn't really matter. Like, you know, everything just seemed to click for him. So that's still possible. But as we sit here today, I would not pick them to make the playoffs.
Wow.
Dang.
I think with a healthy Dak Prescott, I think we can make it to the
yeah, I think so too. I'm not that down on us.
We had Todd and Sucky out there, and Dak was still throwing the ball around. So I think that we can make it with Tyler Guyton and the company of guys that we have here. I remember, yeah, but you do have a point though, John. You have me thinking now.
Here we go.
We still made the postseason with Dak Prescott.
Well, but that's the thing though. You also said with Dak, like, yeah, I think that they have a really good chance if you tell me he's 100% healthy and he plays the way he did 2 years ago, where, you know, again, he was in the MVP race and all that, for sure. Right. But there is also a part of you, like, coming off the season that he had, you know, I don't know if that he isn't going to miss a few games here or there. That's still part of it as well. I mean, even look at the Eagles. I mean, there were games that Hurts missed, you know, and there was times when he wasn't 100%. So yeah, if Dak's 100% healthy, then everything should probably take care of itself. But I still have some questions about even that offensive line and how well they're going to hold up. So they still have work to do.
I guess I just completely bought the bill of goods on the coaches at this point. I think that's what it is. I think the coaches, man. I think I'm just completely bought in on the person, Brian Schottenheimer. Like, Law, you said you had a chance to actually kind of interact with him a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
What's the energy that you get when you got, even if it was for 5 seconds? Like, does he have a strong presence? Does he have kind of like that kind of like that alpha presence?
Well, they do. They are very team, not boisterous, but they humble guys. And he was saying, like, tonight they're going to get into some conversation because Stephen Jones is going to be there tonight, and it's going to be good. And he said, "Law, I got to introduce you to Stephen Jones."
Oh,
and that was
brother.
Schottenheimer. He said Stephen Jones was the one they absolutely believed in him and gave him a chance. You know what I'm saying? So he said he really going to really put in some work, and he just happy for having the opportunity to be the head coach of this team. And Matt Eberflus said he couldn't want it any other person outside of Shotty, because he thinks that this would be a good situation for him too. So both of those guys, they kind of merged together as a good conversation. So hopefully we win more games than we win last year. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think is going to happen if you run into Stephen Jones and then you try and walk him over to David Mulligetta? How do you think that'll go down?
I think Stephen gonna turn red.
Oh Lord, this is your chance, brother. This is your chance
to get the news together.
Hey, man.
Micah Parsons was in good spirits today, so it could be some good news that's gonna happen sooner than later. You know.
Yeah, hopefully so. Because if it do, I'm about to go on a parade. I would be dancing around people. I'm like, I told you, Jane, my girl, but I told you. But no, this is good stuff, man. I just feel like the energy around the franchise is different right now. I feel like the whole D-Law thing may end up being a blessing in disguise on the long run, because it kind of just allows the franchise to reset just from a personality standpoint, right? I don't feel like Dak is. I don't feel like he's the type of person that's going to try to impose himself on everyone else, right? I feel like he kind of leads who allows themselves to be led. That's kind of the impression I get from a Dak Prescott. Now that the defense has kind of really cleared the runway for a Micah, I do think that we're going to see a different personality from this team, and I just hope that it's a positive one.
So one person said that Law looks like a real estate agent. Another person said, Law, put your hands on the wheel. like you're just driving with your knee.
Oh yeah, old school, man.
Hold on, man. You can't be ghost riding on the street. Hey man, I need one of the law officers watching this to pull this man over right now. He wild.
No, man.
Yeah, you better be careful out there, man. And the chat worry about you, Law.
Well, I ain't paying no attention to them nor y'all. It just so I'm just listening. I'm not looking into the camera. So. Yeah.
Now you on your way to the event though?
Yeah, I'm on my way to the event. It was like I was gonna hop in the boy. If I'd have hopped in that thing, y'all would have been saying, "Man, Law rich, man." They got a Mercedes. They got a Mercedes shuttle van.
Dang.
I was gonna hop in, but I let the Parsons. Let the Parsons ride with that, because I don't want them to be listening in to this conversation.
No, for real though, they already don't like me, man. Hey man, Michael, one of my favorite players, man. I just keep it a buck though. I just keep it a buck off what I see, y'all. I'm sorry, he my guy. Just keep it a buck, all right? Quit holding grudges. But anyways, man, we are last 10 minutes of the show.
Tell that guy, leave my baby alone.
Hey man, I support. Hey, I was trying to drive a Micah Parsons jersey sale the other day on my stream, man. I told you, I give credit where it's due, and just based off of what I feel like is gonna happen very, very soon, Cowboys fans, y'all been bugging me, bro. People been bugging me, John. Now I got a glimpse of what it feels like to be a reporter a little bit now. People think that you just always have information readily available and you just sitting on it or something.
Right. Oh, I mean, just watch the national TV shows, the way that they'll go to some of their insiders, and like you'll listen to the clip and you'll be like, there was really nothing there.
Nothing.
But it's really not their fault. They're doing 5 shows a week, and there's some days there's more than enough stuff, and other days you're like, there's really not. There's not a lot going on. But I feel like with the Cowboys, it keeps it pretty balanced. I mean, it seems like there's enough going on with whether it's star players or the Jones family or whatever. Like, it seems like they're always a storyline, even nationally. So it isn't too bad, but yeah, I totally get, man. Like, people expect you every time they talk to you to be like, all right, so what's going on with this? What's going on with that? And it's like, a lot of times there's nothing going on, you know?
Right.
Right.
I mean, this Micah deal could come together in, you know, one night. You know, it's not like it's going to take forever, but I just look at the track record of all the pieces involved, and that's why I'm like, yeah, I could see it dragging out, you know.
Not this time.
Because of one little part, you know.
It could. I really hope not. But I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna be on the warpath. If this mug take to August again, I'm gonna be on the warpath, and I'm gonna have one clear and defined enemy.
I don't think any way it would take to August. I think July would be it, because they would want him at all of training camp. They're not going to want to mess around like the CD thing. CD could have been done before training camp. I mean, Jerry's basically said that, but he was like, "What's CD going to do here? You know, other than, you know, he could potentially get hurt, and this was going to give opportunities to Tolbert and Brooks and all these other guys." And that plan was probably not great, but they could have gotten CD done before, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Was he still waiting for them leaves to fall, or?
Yeah, there were leaves that needed to fall.
JJ was set to get his contract. I'm talking about Justin Jefferson. Did they sign him before training camp?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it could have been done right after that.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they signed Jettas way earlier than CD got his done. So, and I just don't see it being that type of situation, man. I just really don't. And I'm ready to see what the Cowboys look like under new management. Essentially, is what this is. Even the Jones boys are acting a little bit different this offseason. Like I said before, we've heard from Jerry how many times this offseason? Twice. He's talked to the media twice this offseason. That is unheard of. I feel like we used to get weekly updates from Jerry.
Jerry need to come out tonight with his son, you know, because this debtor, John and AOC, $1,000 a plate. So,
no sir, no sir. Hey, that dinner better regenerate itself on my plate. If I paid $1,000, that mug better regenerate on the plate, man.
So Justin Jefferson,
by my plate. Go ahead.
Justin Jefferson was signed on June 3rd, so I mean that's over a month before camp starts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
and there's nothing else for Micah's contract that needs to fall into place. Like, it's all there. The parameters are there. The Jamar Chase deal, the what's it called? Miles Garrett deal. Like, there's nothing else. You can't. They won't even dare say anything about leaves falling on this. Like, the parameters are set. You know where the ballpark is. You have to be.
Right.
But either way, chat. Yeah, I mean, anybody in the chat got any questions before we kind of wrapping the show up? We're in the last 5 minutes. We're in the home stretch, fellas. We're in the last 5 minutes of the show. I know Law in the home stretch too. He about to go have himself a good old night. I'm hoping we see some news drop for the Cowboys pretty soon. It's been quiet all week, man. It's just a little bit too slow for my liking. And Law, I'm still, you know, the offer's still up, Law. We can move it back. You know, we can move back to after the draft.
Keep right here, you know. We can do that. Double it to nothing. No.
we could move it back to after the draft, Law, because he said, James Ryan said, "Do you all believe in the coaching staff?" I mean,
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. I read that question too. I don't know. Like, I think they have good people. I do believe Schottenheimer when he says about building like the greatest culture you possibly can have. Like, I absolutely. And I do think they have good coaches. There's so many new moving pieces that I got to see how it all kind of comes together. I really don't know. I don't think it's going to be a disaster or anything like that. I just don't know if it's going to be that much better than what they've had, you know, like where all of a sudden you're just like, it, you know, it takes it up to another level. It could, I just don't know yet. I got to see more, you know, but I do like a lot of the hires that they made. Especially after how I didn't think they did a good job in the coaching search. Like, I thought they should have interviewed more people and stuff. So what they have right now, there is reason to believe in them, but I can't sit here and say definitively, oh yeah, no, this is going to be a really good coaching staff. This is going to be exactly what's been missing. I don't know that that's the case. We'll see. But I don't think it's a bad coaching staff. Like, I do not think that they will be some disaster of a staff that like you see across the NFL where the staff's gone after like a year or two. I don't think it's like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's hard to say, I mean, you believe in the coaching staff. I believe in the idea of the coaching staff. I mean, I kind of believe in what the coaching staff represents, if that makes sense, but they haven't given us anything tangible to sink our teeth into just yet to believe in them, per se. Now, we have going to the draft, and, you know, they have an amazing draft, and the players that they draft all have a clear and defined purpose, and you can kind of telegraph what the team is building towards, and you like the idea more, than you have a little bit more to sink your teeth into. But I think until we actually start seeing games get played, it's hard to say that right now.
But you know what's good though, bro? Is when I got a chance to talk to Matt Eberflus, he said that Hail Mary play from Jaden Daniels to that whatever wide receiver he called hunts him, and he wanted to be able to get his revenge back. So we got 2 tries at it every year.
I like that. Hey, I like that mentality.
He want his revenge back, you know. But he said
see, everybody got a chip on their shoulder. That seems to be the theme of this Cowboys team.
He got a chip on his shoulder, and he says, "Law, you got the voice for the radio." I'm not BSing y'all, but he said, "Law, you got the voice for the radio, man. Keep it up." But mark my words, we gonna stop the run this year. Put it on a T-shirt, and I'll be the first person to buy it. So come on, AOT. Let's come up with a T-shirt. I got his number. I'm gonna hold him to it. So let's get that T-shirt. Stop this run. We gonna stop the run. T-shirt.
Hey, that's fire. Hey, Matt Eberflus got me hyped just off of that. Everybody got chips on their shoulder. I love it. I love it. No one should be comfortable. No one should be complacent. Everyone should be hungry. And it sounds like from the coaching staff to the players, it kind of seems like that's the kind of energy everybody has right now. But John, do you have anything else before we closed out this mug?
Alec Lopez. What if Shador drops? It's not. There's just no way they're paying Dak $60 million a year. They're not gonna spend a high pick on a quarterback. That's just not gonna happen. Day 3 will be where they address quarterback. Here's a good one. I was going to ask you guys earlier. Devin had one here on the thoughts on Micah Parsons. What do you guys think of him? Because I feel like he's kind of been lost in the shuffle too. I feel like not many people talk about him anymore, and those top receivers.
I feel like him over Matthew Golden.
Oh, okay.
That's where I was going earlier with the whole why are these guys shooting up the board thing. Because to me, Emeka Egbuka, no one has shown me anything that's changed my mind that Emeka Egbuka is probably the most complete receiver in this draft. So I still like him as wide receiver 2 or 3 in this draft. Tet is obviously, I think, the clear number 1 for me. And then at that point, I think it's a toss-up between guys like Emeka, and then you can talk about even a Trey Harris. I like Trey Harris a lot more than a lot of people might like Trey Harris. I think that he's another one of those big body guys. He's like a DK light to me, DK Metcalf light to me right now. So I think there's guys that I would take before Matthew Golden, and that's why I'm not just beholden to that 12 spot if he's there and a team like the Broncos is willing to give you some stuff to move up. That's where I'm at with it. But fellas, we done made it through.
Yeah, I'm survived.
Yeah, we done made it through. We are at the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, for rocking with us on this Cowboys Collective. We've been trying to bring y'all the content regardless of the circumstances. You see, Law is literally on the road. John just came straight from an event. I've been working my brains out, so we all trying to provide y'all this content. So do us a favor, leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Again, appreciate BetUS TV for helping us provide this content for you all. And we'll catch you guys on the next one, man. We out.
All BetUS TV. What's